There are a lot of Muslim nations and mosques in the world, but tragically, there are others where there are no Muslims at all. Unfortunately, there are other places where Muslims exist yet lack the freedom to publicly profess their religion. It may not appear to matter if there are no Muslims living in a country, but there are a sizable number of Muslims anywhere. It is unjust to use the law to prevent people from being who they are and doing what they wish to. Slovakia. Slovakia is known to have around 10,940 Muslims in 2022, which is different from their 2021 census and raises a question that is Slovakian government trying to suppress Muslim population intentionally? The question is quite concerning and quite unfortunately tells where our world is heading. The Slovakian government has ensured to bar Muslims from religious human rights. The state is actively ensuring to keep Muslims out of the country as they fear Muslims. We must do everything we can so that no mosque is built in the future, were the words of the chairman of Slovak National Party after they rejected war-affected Muslim refugees and immigrants from entering Slovakia. Also introduced a law to restrict any religion from getting registered as a minority under state laws unless the population of its followers is not above 50,000 figures. This made Islam as an unregistered religion. Slovakian Muslims were not even allowed to choose Islam as their religion on state census forms or any filings before 2021 census, so they had to choose others option. The others option is used for non-registered religions. However, it's believed the census did not represent Muslims authentically, and Muslim representation was suppressed intentionally by state government. Since religion is not accepted by the state government, building a mosque in Slovakia is still not possible in this century. Athens, Greece. Greece has gained some notoriety for its Lausanne Treaty with Turkey and its assurances of Muslim safety following the demise of the Ottoman Empire. However, Greece has made a point of exploiting such pledges in the past and in the present. One of the treaty pledges was to permit Muslims to freely exercise their faith. Yet, since the Ottoman era, Athens, the capital of Greece, has not had a single mosque. Sole one mosque was opened in November 2020, which was the only recent modification in 2020. Unfortunately, it can only accommodate 70 people at once, whereas there are 200,000 plus Muslims in Athens. Additionally, there have been several incidents of anti-Islamic posters and slogans being left on mosques in an effort to terrorize Muslims. Not only that, but Greece made Islamic organizations suffer by greatly denying them permission to build a mosque in Thessaloniki and by making Muslims travel great distances to visit mosques or to attend unofficial prayer locations. There are around 70 non-official praying spaces, of which 10 are permitted and others must be done in private. Andorra. Andorra is a Catholic state and have a previous record of not providing separate cemetery to both Muslim and Jewish communities for their beloveds' dead bodies. Of the 79,824 people living in Andorra, 2,228 are Muslims. Yet the country has never formally given Muslims a space to pray. When questioned, their responses are rather unappealing, such as the claim that there isn't enough affordable land now available for the construction of mosques. Despite the fact that all foreign Catholic priests were given citizenship and received their full salaries on schedule, the people of Andorra are generally anti-Muslim and opposed to religious freedom. This has also caused a lot of hurdles in the process. San Marino. San Marino, like Andorra, is a very small republic near Italy and is approximately 1/3 of whole Washington, D.C. The state has around few hundred Muslims out of its total population of 34,108. It's a Roman Catholic-dominated nation and therefore has very few mosques. Monaco. Monaco is a state with a population of just 36,469 people, with Roman Catholicism as its official religion, of which a minuscule fraction, quite insignificant, is Muslim. Iran and Arab Muslim travelers who come there do not obtain citizenship by the state and hence do not considerably expand or affect population of citizenship. Thus, there is no registered mosque yet, since apparently state officials believe there is no need for one right now. Uruguay. Uruguay is a secular state where the religion has no influence over public policy. Nevertheless, there are only 3 Islamic centers, and the land is still devoid of mosques. Due to the small number of Muslims living in Uruguay, most of them visit an Islamic center 5 times a day to pray. Sao Tome and Principe. Sao Tome and Principe is an African island near an equator with around 5,931 Muslims out of total population of 227,380. There are no known mosques on the island. However, there are some non-official prayer spaces along with 1 registered Islamic center. Other places are reserved for the Ahmadiyya community, who call themselves Muslims but are not under Sharia. Ahmadiyya is a separate religion and has no relation with Islam. Therefore, many Muslims believing in Quran and Sunnah avoid attending prayers there. Vatican City-State. This one is quite different from the rest, and that's why it's on the last. Vatican City-State is regarded as the center of Catholicism and the smallest nation in the world. It has a major historical and architectural significance and is located in the center of Rome. According to the Worldometer, it has currently 806 population as at December 27, 2022. Despite having a fairly small population, it is nevertheless quite conservative. The absence of a mosque may be due to a variety of factors, but one well-known reason is that the city is revered by Catholics as a place of worship. It receives thousands of Catholic pilgrims every year, and thus quite influenced by Catholicism. It has more Muslim tourists since it is less hostile to Muslims than other cities and nations, but has neither a Muslim local nor a resident. Muslim visitors are permitted to see Peter's Basilica and the Sistine Chapel, but they are only allowed to pray in their confined lodgings or apartments in order to reduce any unnecessary tension due to massive security. Given the Pope's injunction to keep bias at bay, it may be argued that the public is not antagonistic to Islam, Muslims, or adherents of any other religion. Pope have also organized several joint prayer meetings for Christians and Muslims. Not all, but the Pope has personally interacted with a few Muslims to promote polite dialogue between people of other ethnicities. This indeed inspires faith in humankind. As a Muslim, we are obliged to follow the law of land, and if the state prohibits unofficial prayer halls or spaces, it must be respected at all cost. By restricting people's fundamental human rights, one cannot undermine or deny the reality that Islam is the second largest religion in the world. Some countries believe it is acceptable to practice whatever hate they preach by placing regulations or limitations on specific fractions of persons who were born and nurtured in their nation by their own people. It is quite clear that neither the Bible nor any earlier scriptures have ever taught humans about this. It is people's inherent corruption and conflicting nature that drives them to impose illegal and unethical rules on others, while failing to consider the fact that some of them, preaching hate and division, also reside abroad in nations that do not fully share their beliefs, but are still welcomed generously by the people they hate. When all Muslims want is freedom to exercise their faith, they have long been mistreated and considered inferior. Fascinatingly, on the other hand, God does always support those who are oppressed, and with time, they do notice a sizable assistance from the unseen. Perhaps this is why Islam is rapidly becoming the world's largest religion, granting rights and caring for the entire human race. Although it does speak of peace, some individuals portray it as being dangerous, where it isn't. When the Quran mentions military action, it also mentions peace and treaties. But they won't tell people this, so that anybody they're attempting to dominate and control mentally doesn't know the truth about the Quran and Islam. Thus, they lie, tell a public outright lie. They oppose the construction of mosques and prayer spaces in their nations out of concern that Muslims would harm them, when all Muslims do is prostrate themselves before God, the same God to whom they pray. However, no matter how hard you attempt to educate them, they will still strive to avoid learning about the subject and any essential background information. For many Muslims, this has made it extremely difficult for them to freely exercise their rights. May Allah accept our efforts and forgive our wrongdoings.